Hey y'all, I've attempted to do this video several times and I keep screwing it up. So if I mess up this time, I'm just going to call it quits for the day and try again maybe tomorrow. But I wanted to cover if it makes sense to get a life insurance policy on your minor children or your young adult children who don't have families of their own. Um, I often talk about my young clients on the channel, and I had someone ask me if it even made sense for young adults who don't have families of their own, which means they don't have anyone really dependent on their income to even have life insurance, and if it made sense to have life insurance on your minor children. So that was the primary reason I wanted to cover this topic. Also, there was a article circulating around Facebook that says something to the effect of, if you have a life insurance policy but you don't have anyone depending on your income, you're basically throwing money away. So I wanted to address this as well as answer the person's question. I answered the question offline, but several other people may have the same question, so I wanted to discuss the topic. I wasn't able to find that Facebook article, but I have two articles here on my laptop that I'm not going to read the entire articles, but I want to read a portion of them both because they tie in with the topic. So the first article is by a site called Credit Solutions, and the topic is One Universal Truth: Your kids don't need insurance. It states, unless your children are child actors, you typically don't need to buy them life insurance. There are better uses of your hard-earned cash. Your children typically do not earn an income that family depends on. If that's the case with your family, then you do not need life insurance coverage for your minor children. Now, this article was written from a standpoint of income replacement only. And like I've stated in some of my previous videos, there are several different purposes for purchasing life insurance. Not everyone purchases for the same reason. And income replacement is just one of the purposes of life insurance. And I'm going to do a segment soon on the different uses and purposes of life insurance. So from an income replacement standpoint, if you're in the market to purchase life insurance and it's solely for the purpose of purchasing life insurance to replace the income of the breadwinner in a family, then maybe for your family, you don't feel it makes much sense to purchase insurance on the children, because typically children are not the breadwinners of the family. So it would probably make more sense to you and for you to purchase it on the parents or the husband, the wife, whoever, in the event of their passing, the family would experience a severe financial setback by losing that income. So looking at it in those terms, it may not make sense for you to get insurance for minor children or young adults who don't have anyone dependent upon their income. Before I go into my personal feelings on the matter, I want to go into this next article. And this next article, I'm actually going to pin the link in the description of this video because I think it would be a good read. It's not very long, but I'm only going to read the first story. The title of this is I sure could have used life insurance. 3 true stories. So it's 3 families or 3 individuals here sharing their experience of why they wish they had gotten life insurance, or why they wish they had purchased it sooner. The first one states, the title is, I wish I'd gotten life insurance before I got pregnant. I knew that having our first child meant that getting life insurance should be a top priority for both me and my husband. We researched policies, got a quote for an affordable term life insurance policy and had our medical exams. Imagine my surprise when a few weeks later, the agent called me back and told me my new adjusted rate. The cost of my policy had gone from a reasonable monthly fee. The cost of my policy had gone from a reasonable monthly fee that they quoted me to nearly 4 times that amount. The reason, he said, was that my cholesterol levels were high. I called my doctor in a panic. Cholesterol levels always spike during pregnancy, she reassured me, and they probably won't be back to normal until a few months after you give birth. After doing some research, I found that it's nearly always better to get a life insurance policy before you get pregnant to avoid potential price hikes brought on by temporary conditions during pregnancy. While some companies will account for the fact that you gain weight due to the pregnancy, factors like high blood pressure or postpartum depression can also affect your ability to get the best rates. Now my daughter is 3 months old and I'm still waiting for my numbers to dip before starting again. I really wished I'd known to start this process when trying to conceive instead. Now, like this lady stated in this article, sometimes pregnancy brings on conditions that can make it harder or more costly for us to get life insurance. But one thing she stated is that these are temporary conditions. But let's not forget that sometimes the conditions brought on by pregnancy, we still struggle with them after the pregnancy. Some of the conditions don't go away after we give birth, and they become permanent conditions that can and sometimes will make it more costly or harder for us to get insurance coverage. So, in answer to the question at hand, in my opinion, I say yes, it does make sense to insure your minor children and your young adult children who may not have anyone dependent upon their income. Now, there are insurance professionals who will state otherwise. There are some who wholeheartedly agree with the first article, that if you have no one depending on your income, if a child is not the breadwinner in a family, it is not a priority to have life insurance on them. In fact, there's one company that I could think of specifically who has built their platform on income replacement solely. So their model is based on replacing the income of the breadwinner. So, like I stated, there are several different purposes of life insurance, and I'm going to do a segment on that soon. But when we wait to get life insurance, it doesn't always work out in our favor. Waiting isn't always our friend, and we tend to wait until we think we need the insurance before we look into getting it. So we tend to wait until we're much older and death is on our mind more often. We tend to wait until we have a health or a death scare. We tend to wait until we see others in our age range dying unexpectedly. We tend to wait until others in our age range are diagnosed with diseases, and it kind of shakes us up. It makes us a little scared. So we we need to get some coverage in place. But sometimes waiting is the very thing that causes us to pay more for insurance, or be in a situation where it's harder for us to get the insurance because of other things that has happened in life. So let me just use the scenario of the people who feel that if you have no one depending on your income, you can wait until you have a family to get the coverage. So let's just say you're 25, and 25 is the age that you're no longer, at 25, you're no longer able to be a rider on your parents' life insurance policies. So let's just say you're 25 and you don't have a family of your own. No one's depending on your income. So you feel as though it's not a priority. I'll wait to get the coverage. And then you roll around to age 30 and you meet the person of your dreams. By 33, you're married. By 35, you have your first child. Well, let's just say there has been no change in your health. You're in excellent health. There has been no health change from the time that you were 25 to the time that you were 35. However, the fact that you're now 25 years older alone will affect the cost that that life insurance coverage will be. You will pay more just on the fact alone that you're 10 years older. And typically a 35-year-old wouldn't pay a whole lot in coverage if they are, depending on the amount that you're applying for, if they're in good health. However, I like to look at things from a more proactive standpoint. If you can get the coverage at age 25, then you will already have the coverage in place by the time you start a family, and it's at a lower monthly cost. That's the way I look at it. But another standpoint is this. If you're a parent who has heard that it doesn't make sense to insure your young adult children or your minor children, or if you're the young adult watching this video, or you're the one who has heard that it doesn't make sense to get insurance if you don't have a family of your own, let's look at it from this standpoint. If we all are going to pass away someday, and someone is going to have to be responsible for covering our final expenses. So if you're a parent who does not have the luxury of having lots of money put to the side for the sole purpose of burying a loved one, or if you don't have a very large amount of money in savings, it may make sense to you, or it may make sense for you to have a policy on your minor child or your young adult children. If you know that in the event of a passing in the family, that taking care of those final expenses, a burial or a cremation or whatever you may choose to do with your loved one at that time, is going to put the family in a financial hardship. Or if you may have to not pay a few bills, or if you may have to deplete your entire savings, it may make sense for you to consider insuring your young adult children or your minor children if you know that the cost of burying them or cremating them is going to set your family back financially. Or if you're the young adult trying to decide if it makes sense for you to purchase a life insurance policy, think about whoever is going to be responsible for covering your final expenses. If it's your parents, take their financial situation into account. Think about if they're on a fixed income or not. Think about if they're living off a disability. Think about if they're living off retirement income. So these are some of the things that the reason that I wholeheartedly believe that yes, it makes sense to have insurance on your minor children, especially if you know your family isn't in the kind of financial situation where you just have money on reserve for an extreme emergency. But if you are, And to you, the only purpose of having life insurance is to cover final expenses, and you do have the luxury of having money to the side for events of the such, then you have to do what makes sense for you and your family circumstances. Just because I feel as though, yes, you should have it, there's no law stating such. My opinion does not make it law. And you will hear a lot of agents say, yes, everyone needs it. But like I said, there are insurance professionals that say that it's a waste of money having insurance on minor children or on people who don't have anyone depending on their income. So like I say a lot, I encourage you to do your own research. I encourage you to sit down and take a long, hard, realistic look at what your financial circumstances are. And just if you know that you can stand to be on a better financial footing, and that any extreme emergency will set you back financially, then in my personal and professional opinion, I feel that yes, it does make sense to have insurance coverage on your minor children and your young adult children. So like I said, the link to the last article I read will be in the description section of this video. And I think now that I've decided to do that for this video, I may start going forward trying to find an article that ties in with the topic of the video and pinning the link in the description, because I often encourage you to do your own research. But a lot of these articles you may find interesting, and I'll try to find articles, unbiased articles, or at least an article from both points of view, so you can come to a decision on your own. And if I didn't believe that everyone or most people should have insurance, I wouldn't say so. This isn't just an attempt to get your business. It's not an attempt to sell you policies for your young children and your minor children. But I have seen, and I'm sure many of you have seen, the financial repercussions of people not having life insurance on their children, how much it has set some families back financially, scraping up the money to bury their children. So this video is a little longer than I already intended for it to be. So today's weird fact about me, and I don't know if it's necessarily weird, but whenever I mention this to someone, they think that it's the weirdest thing. So today's weird fact is that I'm from Baltimore. I live in Baltimore, and I never watched The Wire. So people think that that's the weirdest thing. So that's today's weird fact. Oddly enough, there is no song playing. So that in itself is a weird fact. But I'm going to end this video. And if you would like to talk more about having insurance on your adult children, or if you, your minor adult children. See, I should have ended this 5 minutes ago. Minor children or your young adult children, and you would like to sit down and discuss it, and you want me to help you figure out if it makes sense for your family, I'm open to giving you some advice. But again, the decision is essentially up to you, and you have to do what makes sense for your family and your family circumstances. You see how much I'm messing up in this video, y'all? This has been me all day long. I just haven't been able to say anything right all day. It's crazy how many times I've attempted to shoot this video. So I'm gonna end it now. Before I mess up again, check the description for the link for this article, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.